I'm talking in my mind.
I mean, I'm not getting
Check.
anything that I can
Check.
hear specifically.
I'm good. Just gonna tell you all this.
Check. Make sure he's
I'm
not too hot
sweating.
Yeah, let's not do that, Tip.
now. Okay.
We good still, Jeff? On at this spot.
Yeah, I would just keep it in the middle because then I have to readjust all the settings. But we're live, so we're just waiting for a few people to get in the chat.
Few people in this thing. I'm over here sweating, Jeff.
I can't believe you guys are doing this outside at Myrtle.
Well, I'll have
I
you
hear
know
a
that
bunch of
there's
screaming.
4 under 4 inside the house at the moment.
That sounds miserable.
Yeah. It's very exciting.
Kids are fired up for the beach.
They are.
Yeah.
They think we're gonna go tonight, and we're trying to get them to fall asleep so we can crack open a little old soul whiskey.
There you go.
It's a sweet house, dude. We got a little pool out here. We got.
Oh, you got your own pool?
Mhm.
Sweet.
Well, the Tipton family owns the place. I mean, you can't hide money like they
I
got.
wish.
No, you can't. Got a few people in the chat already. Stu's Wright's in there. Zachary Brenner's in there. So
Stu, sorry I told you 8:15. It's 8:30. Me and Tip here had to go to the Burger Fi right here on Ocean Drive in Myrtle Beach. Only a couple miles away from Conway, Stu.
he said, "Not in Conway, I bet." All right, you ready? to kick
Tomorrow? Yeah.
Ready to kick it
Tell me
off or
when.
what?
Tell me when to go, Jeff. Welcome into the #1 Group of 5 football podcast in the world. We are the Group of 5 guys. Our mission is to be the pride, be the voice, bring the excitement to the Group of 5 football programs that the mainstream sports media refuses to do. We need all of your help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social media platforms. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Like it, give it a 5-star rating and review. Tell your family and friends all about us. And live for sure, group5guys.com, new merch, dry fit t-shirts, hats, golf polos, sweatshirts, beanies, all kinds of new stuff in all kinds of different colors. So check that out, group5guys.com. On this show, we're going to recap our trip to Tulane and New Orleans. Swaggy's going to recap the Middle Tennessee game in Tuscaloosa. We're going to give you a couple locks, underdog picks for the week, and recap just some of the other games from the weekend. Enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
Lee Corso is a guy who had a retirement party 10 years ago, and yet he still won't leave the office.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round. Like, that's incredible. The wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of 5.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
Yeah, I really appreciate you do for the Group of 5 programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are in the forefront of this. And
so I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of 5 because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
I appreciate what you guys do, truthfully. Covering the Group of 5. Y'all said it earlier, but the Sun Belt to me is college football.
Guys, I don't think y'all understand how humid it currently is on this deck. Tip and I are here at a beach house in North Myrtle Beach. Thought it was such a good idea to get out here on the deck. We got, I'm thinking here, ocean breeze is going to be coming in. No, ain't no ocean breeze. I'm getting eaten up by mosquitoes. I'm sweating. But we're going to power through this thing. And we got a great show for you tonight. They kick it off to Swag Bear immediately. Swaggy was in Tuscaloosa this week and saw the Blue Raiders, who honestly we were keeping up with the score. They held their own for a while, and then in typical SEC versus Group of Five fashion, they let go of the rope a little bit. End of the first half, and then of course in the second half. Swaggy, you were on the field, you saw it all. What happened?
We obviously show a little bit of favoritism towards MTSU on this show. So for those listeners that are rolling their eyes right now, when you see a 56-7 loss, how do you compliment the Blue Raiders on that? There's several reasons why you can compliment the Blue Raiders on this. I'm going to sound like Jeff Murphy circa 2022. He went to every game for MTSU, and he was a huge believer in those Blue Raiders. I'm going to tell you right now, we preach it all the time between Power Five and Group of Five. There's no difference. Well, there is another level that is three teams, in my opinion, right now that are consistently on a different level in all college football. That's Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. I'm not going to throw Florida State in there right now because they're not been consistent enough. Same with LSU. But of those three teams, one of those three, to me, showed that they're probably the best team in the country. That's Alabama. They were pretty dominant throughout the whole game. With that being said, and I don't know if this is nostalgia or what, but I got to go in that locker room with Middle Tennessee. I looked at all those players in the eyes, and for a glimpse, for a second, I'm not even trying to be funny, I was thinking, these boys are not scared of Alabama. And I'm telling you right now, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. They are big. We got some size this year at Middle Tennessee. I was blown away at the size of our defensive line, our offensive line. And when you're out there on the sidelines, guys, we were just as big as Alabama, it looked like. So, and we were hitting them. They were hitting them. That was not a targeting call on that punt return. I'm not going to say too much on this, but I will say this right here. Alabama played a really good game against the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders. It's unfortunate that Middle Tennessee played Alabama week 1 because I think they would have definitely shocked some people if they played another Power 5 school. We had some issues where we missed a field goal that hurt. We threw an interception. I really enjoyed watching this offense. The O-line even got some push on Alabama D-line. I'm going to end it with this right here. I'm calling it. I think MTSU is going to make a run at it this year. They may upset some people, win the Conference USA. I'm a true believer. I looked at them. This something about this team is special. Maybe you had to play the game to understand it, but I felt something in that locker room. I felt something on that sideline. These players care for one another. Again, unfortunately, they played Alabama, but they're not scared. And I'm calling it right now. Money line bet. They're going to beat Missouri this weekend because they always shock somebody once a year. And poor Missouri's up next. Rick Stock's will have those boys ready to play. And I hope they're not down about playing and losing by such a high score because Alabama, after watching them, they're probably going to win the national championship this year. Blue Raiders, keep your heads up high. I am a true blue believer that this year is going to be a good year for them.
Well, we saw some of that size down there when we went to camp, Jeff. And that's you're exactly right, Jesse. Like this team, we had your Josh Walker, your one guy, your Darius Johnson, your two guys. They're big across the board on that O-line and D-line. They're bigger than they've been in a long time. I mean, I think you're right. And yeah, I mean, just looking at the stat line from that game, they held their own for quite a while.
We were getting first downs. They were getting first downs, and they were holding Alabama. They really were. And I can't remember play by play, but I just remember at one point it was maybe 14-0. We had a chance. We drove the ball on them. We were in the 3 or 4 yard line. Chip shot, kick didn't go our way, and then right before half, throwing the interception that was really that really didn't help. It might have been in about third quarter. I can't really remember, but I remember that when they threw that interception, that's when I knew, oh God. But look out for the Blue Raiders. I can't really explain enough. They're going to be good this year. That team. There's something about this team. They're gonna shock some people.
Well, and one last thing on that game, and Jesse, you mentioned it last week. Murph mentioned it last week. I saw a lot of blue in the away section in Tuscaloosa. You people better take your asses up to Murfreesboro when conference play starts because they're going to need your help. And I want to segue that to our trip down to Tulane because you want to see a student section that supports the hell out of their program and a community that supports the hell out of their program. That place was loud. The stadium seats about 30,000, and I don't think there was any less than 29,900 in that place. And I mean, just loud. For great game, great atmosphere, great little stadium. I want to swing it to you, Jeff, first. If you want to talk about just facilities as a whole, and kind of, we got the chance to walk around with Courtney Gaucher, the assistant AD there. They got a ton of plans. They've already started on some. But I'm going to kick it to you, Jeff. Give me your overall thoughts on just the campus as a whole.
Yeah, it's a very unique campus down there at Tulane. It's kind of sandwiched in a bunch of neighborhoods. So it's got this really interesting vibe. And the football, center is right now being shared by multiple sports, but they're expanding it. They got plans to build a whole new wing that's going to be just football. They'll have their own practice facility, own weight room. So it's a little dated, but the locker room just got redone. Top notch, super nice. I mean, LED lights all around, lock boxes, air cooling and vacuum stations, so everything gets dried and stays sanitized. Really impressed with the locker room, and then just the field. The field and stadium itself, I think, is the perfect model for a Group of 5 stadium. Especially, like, you got to know your fan base, know your city, and it couldn't be more perfect for that situation. Like you said, it seats 30,000. There's not a bad seat in the entire building, whether you're in the upper deck, whether you're in the end zone, just absolute phenomenal sights of view. And then they got brand new turf. It's that new, kind of awesome synthetic, turf. Got coconut in it, and it's so much cooler. We were standing on there pregame, and normally you got those rubber pellets, on the field underneath, and your feet are just on fire. I remember that as a player, the sole of my cleats one time came off because it was so hot and it melted. But this keeps it nice and cool. It's supposed to give it more spring, and it's supposed to help limit, injuries, concussions, joint injuries, stuff like that. But no, just absolutely incredible atmosphere. If I was a recruit and I went to Tulane, I'd be like, this is on the top of my list, because it was top notch, and the student section was loud, like you mentioned.
Well, and what did he say? Only Tulane, Kentucky, and one other school has that turf right now
in college. Yeah, there's only a couple.
Yeah, and so if you've been on that standard field turf or whatever it's called, there's little black pellets that are like ground up tire or something underneath. At Tulane, it's light blue pellets, and first of all, it fits because it happens to be one of their primary colors. But I mean, the field it just looked good. It felt good. I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, nothing beats natural grass, but I think that's pretty darn close to it. And then, it is, you mentioned it's literally in a neighborhood. I mean, you've got Millionaires Row, as they call it, on one side of the stadium, which presents a whole bunch of challenges because they like things a certain way, and they like things to stop at a certain time of night. And college football doesn't stop at those times of night, and doesn't, and it makes a lot more noise than those people want. But that's what happens when you live next to a college campus. And then on the other side, you have, I don't know if you want to call it Greek Row, but it seems like you have a bunch of college housing and people are partying. So go ahead, Jess, what you got?
I was chewing on ice, so I may have missed this point, but were you saying the Tulane turf, was it made up the same the Tennessee Titans has?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I thought it was pretty funny. If I was watching some of the Tennessee Virginia game that was at the Tennessee Titans, and you literally see, it's not funny. Hope this player's okay. Guy ends up recovering a fumble, runs over to the sideline celebrating. I'm pretty sure he tears his ACL. And then not even another possession later, the long snapper's running over to make a tackle, could not stop in time. Looks like he tore his ankle. And then literally right after they got off a preview, that they were talking about, yeah, we got this new cork and turf field here. It's supposed to limit injuries. And I said, they say this right after two people just break their legs.
Well, what is interesting is we did talk about it. It's got a little bounce to it. It's got a little extra bounce to it. But hopefully that's just a coincidence. But, there's three people sitting on this camera that tore our knees up on the old kind. So,
yeah.
I mean, anyway, but, one of the things too, so we didn't get a chance to really get to the tailgate scene. They've got a quad on campus where they sort of keep everybody. But the main play at Tulane, if you're going to go as a visiting guest or if you're new or you got somebody, there's a bar called The Boot that's about a block away from the stadium. And that's essentially where they do their pre-gaming or tailgating is they go to the quad, they go to the Boot, and they walk back and forth to it. We had some time constraints, but so we didn't really get a great chance to see all of that. But I'll tell you another thing. I thought their club level suite was pretty damn cool. It's the entire field, goal line to goal line, club level, and it's in New Orleans. So we got a chance to get in there. You got jambalaya, you got crawfish, shrimp boil, you got all kind of New Orleans Cajun style food in that thing. And it's a good spot because it was hot and humid down there, and it was really nice to be able to go up there at halftime and get some food, get a drink. But Tip, talk about the superior bar and grill and the oysters that we got pregame.
Yeah, so that place was, excuse me, that place was good. I mean, we had a little bit of a walk. They thought
Tipton's fault per usual.
They thought I had us lost, but no, we walk in there. It really nice restaurant, and we go sit up at the bar, order some. It was happy hour, and it was the $1.25 raw oysters. So we got a dozen raw oysters, and then all of us. What was the name of that pasta that we got?
Cafe La Fer or something like that. Some kind of Cajun pasta.
Yes.
Had andouille sausage, crawfish, little kick to it, little Cajun sauce on top of the pasta, but it was very, very good.
$1.25 or how many oysters?
Per oyster.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Let's say, damn.
No,
It's a dozen. I was like, what kind of
it,
1936?
Yeah.
Oysters. All right.
That's what you get $1.25 oysters at like the Chinese restaurant that's like in the middle of mid-America. It hadn't caught 2 weeks ago. That's when you get $1.25 oysters. But yeah, good oysters there. And then as far as the game, South Alabama looked pretty pedestrian against Tulane, but I don't think that's a knock on South Alabama. And I will stand corrected because I thought Tulane lost a little bit too much. I thought they lost a couple linebackers. They lost some on the back end, but that defense was flying around. And Jesse, you'll appreciate this. Patrick Jenkins is unblockable. He's probably, I wish I had the roster. Eye test, he's probably 6'2", 6'3", anywhere between 295 and 310. Not fat at all. And he's so quick. I mean, I can't even think of a comparison for somebody that, what do you got, Jeff?
6'2", 305.
On the money, dude. I was on the money. But yeah, and of course he wears number 0. But that dude, whether it's put in the center in Carter Bradley's lap or a swim move, multiple swim moves against the centers and guards, same swim move he did against USC to get the safety in the bowl game. I mean, that dude, he's got every package, the bull rush, the speed, the quick hands. I mean, absolutely unblockable and just an absolute specimen. Just the guy. He's the guy. You look out there on the field, and if you didn't know anything about football, you would say, who's that guy? I think he's really good, and he's got his fingerprints all over this game. And then you go on the offensive side of the ball, Jeff, and Michael Pratt, well, he only had one incomplete pass.
I mean,
I
haven't seen a more dominant performance from a quarterback live like in a really, really long time. And I was with you, Sprouse. I thought, they lose Spears, they lose their top 2 guys on the outside. I mean, he did not miss a throw. And I mean, not like there was not a ball that he threw that was low, that was behind. And it wasn't like he was just sitting back there in the pocket all day. Like he was moving around. That touchdown post he threw that we got on video down the end zone. I mean, he got drilled right on the chin, right at, the ball comes out and he gets drilled. I mean, I couldn't be more impressed with Michael Pratt. And I think this guy, if he plays like that game in and game out, Tulane's not going to lose very many games, if any. and his name should be in the Heisman running. And what was the most impressive thing to me is I didn't realize how athletic he is. He is so shifty and fast, and he does it only when he needs to. That is like the key. His eyes are downfield, but when he feels pressure, he's out. I mean, he shook off a South Alabama D lineman that should have been a sack, and then gets out and runs for 15 yards and a first down. So I was just I was honestly blown away. I've not seen a quarterback live like that in a long time, that just took over the game offensively, and the balls he was putting were just right on the money. And he only threw 15 times. He was 14 of 15, 294 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then add 11 rushes to that for 39 yards. And a lot of those rushes were they got good coverage or they got pressure. I got to get out, and now I'm going to make something happen, and I'm picking up first down, which extends drives, which makes it absolutely impossible to stop an offense like that. So this guy, I think he should be – I mean, he was the Reese's Senior Bowl Offensive Player of the Week, which was much, well-deserved. And I just – like I said, I mean, he blew me away. That guy's got a rifle for an arm. He knows what he's seeing pre-snap. He confirms it post-snap, and he was putting the ball right on the money all night.
One thing that is going to get lost in the shuffle on this game just because of the way the score turned out and how good Tulane was. But, man, Carter Bradley made some throws under just severe duress. Yeah. I mean, poor guy was throwing across his body, throwing, across the field into tight spots. And he made some really good throws himself. And also, his Michael Pratt, for what it's worth, his guys were wide open all night long.
Yeah, well,
so Carter Bradley was very impressive in a loss and with a stat line, and he didn't get any help from their run game, which was a little bit, we talked about Jenkins, so that's your problem, but we thought we'd see a lot more from LaDamian Webb in that South Alabama run game, but Carter Bradley was forced, to throw it a lot, and he made some throws.
Yeah,
and
he
that
did.
Fumble that Webb had early in the game, that seemed to kind of turn the game around right there early in the game.
Yeah, I mean, you're a minute and a half in the game, and South Alabama got the ball first, and Tulane's already got a touchdown because Webb fumbled on the 3rd or 4th play of the game, and then Tulane scored 3 or 4 plays later, and that kind of set the tone. And then the deep ball that Jeff caught on camera, I mean, that was you pretty much you never felt like South Alabama had a chance in that game, even when it was close. For the first half, you still thought Tulane's got all of this under control, and that's the thing that I noticed the most in that entire game.
Yeah, and I echo your sentiment, Sprouse. Carter Bradley made some incredible. You go.
Well, yeah.
Can you hear me? My mic cut out for a second. Okay.
Yeah, we got you.
Sorry.
No, yeah, Carter Bradley made a bunch of good throws, and both of those quarterbacks played well. And I want to transition now. Before we get to the Atrocious Award with Jess, I don't think these are atrocious because I don't want to put anybody on blast. But for me, extremely disappointed in UTSA and also Boise State. Now, I know Boise State had a really good opponent, and they held it together for a little bit. But I'm over here calling Boise State a playoff team, and they're certainly not there yet. And they're going to have some work to do again this week, but UTSA, man, I mean,
this Mr. Big Game himself, like I've been saying all preseason, huh? Can he show up for the big game or not? 3 interceptions. Is that what I saw, boys, from Mr. Frank Harris, Mr. MVP?
Yeah, he didn't.
Texas State's over there just rubbing their paws together, trying to get some UTSA Roadrunner. What's Pat McAfee say? Beep beep. They're excited for some beep beep.
It's meep
beep, whatever. INT. Texas State's ready to play. I didn't get a chance to really watch that game. I don't know. Did Frank Harris just have a horrible game, or what happened? Or these balls where the receiver just missed it?
I'll tell you what I noticed after recapping the game and watching it. First and foremost, JT Clark was not on the field. So, you lose Zachary Franklin in the transfer portal last year. JT Clark is still injured. They're hoping that he comes back this week from what I've read. But you basically have Josh Cephas, who's your number one. You got Cardenius, the tight end. But, a lot of those interceptions were him, trying to do a little bit too much. But when you really got one main target on the outside, I mean, Josh Cephas caught 9 balls for 123 yards and a touchdown. All their other receivers, I think, caught 1 ball. So, I don't know if he was just hyper-targeting Cephas, didn't feel comfortable with some of the other guys. I'm not really sure. But I expect Frank Harris to play much better. He's not going to have 2 games like that in a row. And if he does, then we can have that conversation after it happens. But I will say this. I did say before the game, Kevorian Barnes is going to have a big day, and he absolutely did. And I think they need to lean on him a little bit more, especially in tough, tight situations like that. But disappointing for sure. I thought they should have beat Houston. I thought their defense played much, much better. I mean, you hold Houston to 17 points. You expect San Antonio to win that game if their defense only gives up 17. And that's with all the turnovers that they had. So I think Harris plays better next week. I don't think it's an easy out for San Marcos, Texas State, and I think that's going to be a hell of a game.
That game's got a whole lot more interesting over this weekend with UTSA playing as bad as they did and Texas State doing what they did. That game becomes very, very interesting. Jess, let's go to the Atrocious Award for you.
I'll make it quick.
I know you got a couple different routes you might go, so I'm interested to see what you do here. Jeff, cue him on in.
It's atrocious. It's atrocious. Got a quick show tonight. 3 quick atrocious awards. Number 3, Frank Harris. Already got into it. Big hype, pitiful performance. Number 2, y'all talked about it on the show Saturday. Pat McAfee, how in the actual hell do you go to Charlotte, land on Charlotte, and not even know what conference they're in? Kudos to Kirk Herbstreit for not bailing you out because he easily could have, but he wants to see you sink. I want to see you sink. I can't stand you. Number 1, atrocious award. As a bettor, and I would like to hear Jeff's input on this as well. I cannot stand this new clock system. I cannot stand seeing this running clock. A guy goes out of bounds, the clock keeps going. I know they try to steal this stuff from the NFL, but the games are going by a lot faster. I normally don't agree with Chip Kelly, but he had some choice words to say about this new rule, and he's not the only one. The games are going by so fast right now. I don't like it. I think it's atrocious. College football is making too many damn changes in 2023, and I wish they just leave it alone. It's atrocious. It's atrocious. It's atrocious.
Well, on that point, Jesse, and Chip Kelly's absolutely right. When is the last time you've seen a Chip Kelly ran offense only have 4 possessions and a half? And that's what's his thing. The reporter asked him a question, and he was like, he answered the question. He was like, but the real problem is we only touched the ball 4 times that half. And he goes, I hope you're enjoying selling a lot more commercials. And it's like, is that what this is? And that's got to be what it is, because if you look at the landscape of college football with conference realignment, all this stuff, they are trying to squeeze every dollar they can out of commercials, out of the conferences, out of the media deals, and it's like, guys, just stop. You're ruining something that's so good, that's been so pure for so long. And I'm all for, advancing the game, but like the length of college football games has never been an issue. Like it's not like it's been with baseball. That's never been a complaint. So why are we having this running clock when really what it comes down to is you're trying to put more commercials?
Well said.
Well, and I don't know if it's got anything to do with anything, but also how about the TV networks? How about we try to put it on CBS in the hotel to watch one of the games, and DirecTV and CBS have run out of contract or whatever the thing says on the, you can't even watch local channel 4 on DirecTV and watch, I think it was the Wyoming Texas Tech game or one of the games we were trying to watch in the hotel. So, I mean, this TV business, all these, you got to have a zillion streaming platforms. You got to pay for all these subscriptions just to watch what games you want to watch. But anyway, let's get into the good performances from the weekend. We already talked about Tulane a little bit. Rocky Lombardi, the Huskies of NIU.
Good call, Swag Bear.
I mean, you look at the rest of the MAC right now, and I know Toledo looked pretty good against Illinois, but you look at how Ohio's been. You looked at Miami of Ohio, didn't look great. NIU, to me, after just one game, looks like the favorite in the MAC.
And I thought they were very consistent against Boston College. I mean, at one point they were up 14 points. They did let Boston College come back a little bit. I mean, Rocky Lombardi, he was just really good. He's a good leader on that field. He didn't have the stats to where I said he's going to be a Heisman hopeful. That's one game, baby. They got the Power 5 win. They just got to go into next week. I thought the offense looked really good. He made some really clutch passes in that game. Defense stepped up. Can't remember the guy's name from Boston College, but the quarterback was an athlete, and they were able to eliminate him for making the big play in the fourth quarter to take that W. And that was a money line. I have been on fire on these money line upsets. I've had 4 of them. This is Power 5. I had Duke money line last night.
Boy,
can you believe it? Can you
talk.
believe it?
Is it not great to see Clemson be so bad? I'm in South Carolina right now. We're on the deck. There's probably a bunch of vacationers. A lot of big money. Dabo Sweeney, like I said about SMU, bunch of wine and cheese people over here. I bet they can't stand it, but I loved seeing Duke, an academic basketball school, just annihilate Clemson in football. Fantastic. Anyway, sorry, Jess, are you done?
I'm good. No, so yeah, NIU was very impressed with them this weekend. The whole team gets the performance award from me.
Big stat line for NIU: 0 sacks given up by that offensive line.
That's huge,
big time. Jeff, talk about Mikey Keene. Fresno State looked pretty good.
Well, I'd said it. If there was one coach that could lose that much talent on offense and figure out a way to replace them mainly with through the transfer portal, but guys that they had last year that played small roles, it's Jeff Tedford. And he did. Mikey Keene comes in. He had a good career at UCF before he got left there. But 31 of 44, 366 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's a hell of a day going into Purdue and getting a huge win against a Power 5 team. And when we did our Mountain West podcast, I said, look, Eric Brooks, I think, is going to be the number 1 guy, and he was. 9 receptions, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he got our Group of 5 guys Offensive Player of the Week award, which is huge. And they just battled. I mean, every time that Purdue kind of came back, because Purdue did a good job. They did not quit. They kept coming back, and Fresno State would match, and they would match. And I was impressed with Keene's poise and escapability out of the pocket when things broke down. And he threw multiple balls on the run and then just had great touch in some of those touchdown passes in the end zone. So, their defense played well. I know they gave up 35 points, but I think that defense is going to do really well in the Mountain West. So if this offense can roll like this, I mean, Fresno State, I don't see why they're not going to make a run at the Mountain West Championship game if they continue to play like they did on Saturday.
There were so many games. I know it's 1 week, and there's a lot of teams in a lot of conferences that had high expectations that didn't look great. But my predictions for the conferences, I mean, other than Western Kentucky versus Middle in Conference USA, I am looking terrible right now. I mean, we're not going to talk about these games, but Marshall in the Sun Belt barely gets by Albany. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do here. UTSA not looking very good. I don't know. And Boise State looks very pedestrian. But anyway, what's up, Jess?
No, I'm not. I mean,
I have been right on everything so far.
No. I've had a little, luck streak here going, but no, the Marshall thing was very, very surprising. I mean, Georgia State barely getting by. I didn't know who they play.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Yeah, Long Island Iced Tea.
Somebody.
Yeah, it's just very strange. And honestly, I mean, I thought App State was going to put a little more whooping on Gardner Webb. But with that being said, it is the first game, jitters. I mean, I can't say much. Whenever I played college football, we played a 1AA team and got beat week 1. So you get better in week 2. Jeff preaches on it all the time. But Marshall was pretty shocking.
Scary. Speaking of App State, quarterback got hurt and he's out for a little while. So Joey Aguilar is going to be the guy who I think a lot of people expected to be the guy anyway going into the season. But anyway, back to some of the good performances. We caught that Wyoming game in the hotel room. You see about 3 guys making a lot of noise in a hotel room. When Wyoming, there's a lot of things going on in New Orleans that we weren't a part of. But Wyoming with a big-time Power 5 win over Texas Tech. Tip, what do you think about that one?
Well, I just want to give credit to Wyoming quarterback Andrew Peasley. He threw for only 149 yards, threw 2 touchdowns, but he made some big plays when they needed it most, especially rushing 15 carries, 68 yards, and a touchdown. And he had some big plays, both throwing and running the ball, like designed runs in those 2 OT periods. So yeah, give credit to Andrew Peasley, just protecting the ball and scoring enough, and give credit to Wyoming's defense too, stopping Texas Tech on that 2-point conversion in the second overtime.
Well, and that big was a 4th and goal play. Where Peasley makes it happen. There was that overtime, or was that to take it to overtime?
No, that was.
I know it was a
one where he
4th
hit the
goal.
tight end.
Yeah,
Pretty sure that was to win it, wasn't it? Or no, that they ran it.
I think that was descendant.
I think that was descendant to overtime, because that's when we were. That's like right when we got back to the room and put it on, and we found it. But yeah, and I just want to say, man, Wyoming looks like an awesome fan base and an awesome place to catch a football game. We don't talk about it often, but I mean, it just looked cool. And I saw somebody tweet about it. There ain't nothing for a long way from that campus to anything else. So they ride for that school, and it's awesome to see them get that win, especially at home. But
yeah, and I think
they literally ride to that school.
They do. They do.
The Cowboys. Well, Sprouse, real quick, I think an important note is Texas Tech offense is ran by Zach Kitley, who put up ridiculous numbers at Houston Baptist and ridiculous numbers at Western Kentucky with Bailey Zappi. So for Wyoming to play as good as they did against that type of offense, I think that just speaks volume about their defense. And if they continue to play like that and you get the production out of Peasley, especially him protecting that ball with 0 interceptions, Wyoming's going to be a tough team to beat.
Yeah. One shout out I got to give that I thought was going to get ugly the other way on our show on Saturday. The Warhawks, La Monroe beats Army. They held Army to 176 yards rushing, and Army, I think, only threw for 100 yards. So awesome job from Monroe, because that game was real ugly last year, and I thought it was going to be the same this year. But a lot of props to them.
Yeah, and they got to figure out their quarterback situation. They played 2 guys. Neither of them looked great, but I was thoroughly impressed. Their defense, 4 forced fumbles and 2 interceptions. That is, and they recovered 3 of those. That's 5 extra possessions you're giving your offense. And Army typically doesn't, they usually are pretty sure-handed, and at least in years past, as far as running the ball. I mean, that defense showed up and got turnovers, and that, I think, was the key for them winning that game.
All right, Jeff, the floor is yours. Talk about GJ. Actually, well, no, we'll get to voicemails at the end. I was going to say, I'm sure Creme Brulee has about 10 minutes worth of content.
Oh, he does.
That he sent in. But Jeff, Texas State, man, I mean, first of all, let me say this about that. Thank God the national media, because they're going all in on Dion and Prime and the transfer portal and all his players. I'm glad that they have in all their graphics that I've seen them post, they got Texas State and GJ Kinney in that as well. But man, that's a different team.
Oh, it's a vastly different team. And you see what Colorado did, you see what Texas State did, and the 2 things that they have in common is they built this team in 1 year mainly through the transfer portal. So I don't know if this is going to be the trend going forward. I think the biggest key to both of these teams working is the energy and the belief that these coaches have instilled into this team. And GJ Kinney has done that. And I'll say from a schematic standpoint offensively, and credit to TJ Finley, who did a great job executing it, but some of the concepts that they were running were just, I mean, from a quarterback standpoint, like, I loved it. It was just absolutely incredible. Mixing, mesh concepts with pick concepts, like stuff that you don't normally see on an everyday basis. And then TJ Finley for just recognizing, what the coverage was and playing point guard, putting the ball where it needs to be, and then made some great plays in the pocket, sliding around, stepping up. He's a big dude. So there was a couple plays where he should have been sacked, but he gets out of it, rolls to his left, and throws a bomb for a touchdown. I mean, Texas State is back. The Bobcats are back. We're here. I've been on the bandwagon since last year, Sprouse. Since we went down to San Marcos, I got my gear on. I'm ready to go back. Creme brulee. Let's go. Let's hit the town. I want to hit all the same bars that I hit last time. But no, this team is for real, man. I mean, you go in and beat Baylor, but this next week is not a pushover game. It really isn't. I don't think Frank Harris is going to play that poorly 2 weeks in a row. And I think this matchup is going to be awesome. It's going to be in the Alamo Dome. You know that place is going to be loud. But shout out Texas State. I don't know why I can't say that. Shout out to the Bobcats, man. They showed up and had a huge Power 5 win on the road.
I was happy for Creme Brulee. I was happy for you, Jeff. Hell, you've been talking them up for 2 years. So I'm just happy to see this team is actually – I was surprised too. So apparently Colorado has like the number one number of total transfers to their team. But number 2 is Texas State. Texas State's right behind Colorado when it comes to just turning a whole team around with new players. So a quick shout out too, by the way, in the chat room. I was just following it. Juno, the boat guy's in there.
Juno.
So I had a
saw you
great
got to see
weekend.
Juno there in Old
I was with
Tuscaloosa.
Juno on the sidelines for the Alabama game. We, hit up a couple bars together. Good seeing Juno. Looks like Zachary Brenner. Stu's right. Stu's right saying Stu is not concerned about Wyoming, by the way.
Hey, but you better be. You better be, Stu. Stu's more concerned. Me and Tip tomorrow are going to start a timer and see how long it takes for us to get from the Atlantic Ocean to coastal Carolina and just prove once and for all. We got to record it. We should have done this podcast and just drove there and back and just seen how long it took for.
Just take your phone and video the drive, and then you can time lapse it and then put a little timer on.
I'll do it. Yeah, we'll do it. Speaking of transfers, SMU got a bunch of transfers. They look pretty good. I think that game went about as expected. Too much talent for La Tech, and SMU we're going to find out a lot this week when they play Oklahoma. Temple and Akron, don't really know, right? We kind of thought Temple was going to be a lot better, but Akron held their own in that game. I don't know. It's one of those ones again. You just don't know yet because it's week 1. You got to see them against other people.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing in that one is Akron only having 74 rushing yards. That's a problem. If you can't run the ball, and I know Temple's got a sneaky good defense, especially with those linebackers, but they got to figure out a way to run the ball more effectively. And I'd like to see. I thought EJ Warner was going to be a little more efficient than he was, but still had a good game.
Yeah, and then even though we had Western Kentucky as our lock of the week, which it did hit, by the way, we went 2 for 3 this past weekend. Y'all know I was sitting there cheering on South Florida, hoping they would pull it off, and they looked good for a long time. But then again, Western just too much. Austin Reed, they just have too much offense, and you can't make a mistake or they'll pull away really quick.
Yeah, note on that game, Malachi Corley left that game. He went on Twitter saying he just got a shot in the ribs, and they kept him out. But hopefully he'll be back because they're going to need him. He's their top guy. Dalvin Smith showed out though, and in his absence, 7 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown. So they got plenty of weapons, but they need Malachi Corley healthy.
So we're 1-1 on the lock of the week.
Yep,
1-1. Hey, 500.
We're 1-1. We're 1-1 on the lock of the week. We're 0 for 2 on the dog of the week, and we're 2 for 2 on the over under. Yep.
Well, I'm more impressed or excited about the fact that, we said as a group there's going to be at least 8 Power 5 wins. We got 4 already, and week 2 last year was a pretty big week, especially for the Sun Belt. So I'm excited to see what happens in week 2.
Well, yeah, we'll get to it here in a second, but this week it's a lot less. It's a lot less Middle Tennessee versus Alabama, and it's a lot more Middle Tennessee versus Missouri. If you know what that means, there's there's a lot less Ohio States on the schedule this week. There's a lot more Virginias and Kansas States. But anyway, just real quick, Cal and North Texas just couldn't keep up. Liberty and Bowling Green, Chadwell got it done, Jeff.
He did. And Caden Salter, he went with him as his starter. I know he waited to the last minute to announce that. And I thought he looked pretty good. 11 of 20, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 82 yards on the ground. So that's going to be huge if they can use him in the run game. And then that defense, look real good. They had 5 total interceptions and 1 forced fumble. So again, if your defense is able to give the offense that many extra possessions, you're going to win most of these football games. And Coach Stock always used to talk about that. If you can win the turnover battle, you're going to put yourself in the driver's seat in a lot of games. So really impressed with that defense.
Yeah, 100%. And then Toledo, man, we
Close.
debated that one to be our dog of the week, and they looked pretty good. Almost got it done at Illinois. They're one in the MAC that's I'm still very confident in Toledo. I think they're a really good team. And then, man, Colorado State. What are we gonna do, Jeff? Hey, you're on the Colorado State bandwagon as much as you're on the Texas State bandwagon.
I am.
And we just got to get them to put the ball in the end zone, man.
I know. And they started with Clay Millen, who was the starter going into it, and they made a quarterback change towards, in the middle of the game. And Braden Nicolosi, he looked better than Millen did. 13 of 20, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, did have an interception. But when you get a backup that comes in and, at that point, you had some other guys for Washington State in the game. Now you create this buzz on social media, and I've already seen it. They're calling for him to be the starter now. Some people, not everybody. I don't think Matt Mummy's going to go that route yet. I think he's got a lot invested in Millen. I do think Millen's a good player, but you got to show up and you got to be able to move that offense and put points on the board. So it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic going forward over the next couple of weeks. Their bye week this week. They have that week 2 bye, and then they get Prime in the boys. So it's going to be an interesting couple weeks for Colorado State.
I had Colorado money line as well.
Yeah,
I'm actually an atrocious award goes to me as well because I was a huge hater on Deion Sanders, and I'm pretty impressed what he did this past weekend. Just a side note.
Yeah, I think we're gonna find out. I think we're gonna find out that TCU is not as good as we thought.
No.
But here's this is the cycle of sports media and media in general. It's tear the guy down, build him up, build him up, build him up, and the minute they lose, man, they are gonna crush Deion Sanders.
I got a serious question here. You're right, but if Deion Sanders was not the coach of Colorado, if he was not the coach, and they somehow upset TCU week 1, do you think they would still be in the top 25 this week?
No.
Because they're top 25 now. I don't know if y'all saw that or not.
Just to be honest,
I did call that if they did win that game.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't have even hardly talked about it. I don't think.
I was going to say they don't beat TCU though if they don't have.
No, they
Prime.
don't.
So.
No, listen. If you're Colorado, and I don't even want to say it's taking a chance on Deion because the guy's one of the greatest football players of all time, and he just hadn't had a ton of coaching experience at that level. But what a place, right? You got nothing to lose. You don't have a lot of interest in your program, and you can be Deion, and you can be a little bit hostile towards some of the media. You can talk a little bit of trash. You can do stuff like that, and if they keep backing it up. But anyway, real quick, let's talk about Coastal and UCLA because we're in Myrtle Beach at the moment. Good football game is really all there was to say. I'm going to tell you this, though. McCall, he's got to be careful, too, or he's going to get hurt again.
Yeah. He's, you're in that situation on the road, against a Power 5 opponent. You're wanting to do everything you can on the national stage to get a win. But Coastal's offensive line has got to protect better. And I can't remember the young man's name for UCLA. Polynesian kid, he was eating the middle 3, center and 2 guards lunch for most of that game. And he was running around trying to make plays, but they have got it. If they can protect a little bit better up front, McCall was right on the money with a lot of his throws. I think they need to hit the ground game a little bit more. They just couldn't get much of a push against that UCLA front. But our boy Steeple's son, man, he showed out. What a performance by Sam Pinkney. And that touchdown catch in the corner of the end zone on that fade route was absolutely incredible to make that play.
Big time.
So,
just went up and got it.
Yeah. Shout out to him. Great great play by him. But no, I thought McCall looked really good. He just tried to force it in a couple situations late in the game because he's trying to make a play. And but I will say this: I thought Coastal's defense looked a lot better. I know they gave up some points, but against a Chip Kelly ran offense, I mean, they're used to putting up 50, 60 points. So the fact that they held them to what they did, and honestly, most of that game until late, it kind of got away. But no, I think Coastal's right where they need to be. They're still my pick to win the whole thing in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, well, we are going to mostly make predictions and picks on Saturday on our live show here from Conway. But we got 19 opportunities again at Group of 5 versus Power 5 upsets. We got 4 last week. Can we get at least 4 this week? So let's go around the horn and all 4 of us pick one that we think is going to happen. I have no idea where Swag Bear is currently, so I'll start with you, Tip.
So I'm looking at that Troy at Kansas State game. So my bold prediction a few pods ago was Troy's going to go undefeated and play in a New Year's Six Bowl. Makes me a little nervous that Troy's defense gave up 30 against Stephen F. Austin at home. So I'm gonna say that's just part of the first game jitters that we were talking about earlier. Excited to see how they go to Kansas State and play in that game, specifically the defense. 15 and a half, 16 and a half, whatever the spread's at now. I think that's too high. I think it's a big spread. I think Troy does cover that, but if the Troy defense that we all know shows up for that game, they have a chance to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got a big chance to win it. Swag, you okay?
Apologize for my absence. I spilt my drink all over the place, so I was able to I've been picking up like 100 pieces of Chick-fil-A ice, having to wipe off my countertop.
What happens when you have that pimento cheese Chick-fil-A sandwich? Got a little extra grease.
For all
on
the
listeners
fingers out there, the Chick-fil-A pimento cheese sandwich is fantastic. The first time I got it, I rated a 10 out of 10. The second time I did the spicy chicken, they kind of half-assed it, so I gave it a 5.5. And then today I got it for the third time, and they went back up to a 7.5, 8.0. So really good, recommended. It's a hell of a good sandwich. And I usually get the large Diet Coke that just spilt all over my foot. But anyway, so I don't even know what we're talking about right now. But hit me, Sprouse. Hit me.
Which Group of 5 guy is beating a Power 5 guy this week?
So I heard Tip mentioning
Tip's got
Troy in Kansas State. Hell of a good pick. I think Troy can handle it. Has Murph gone yet? No. Okay. So I'm going to stick with what I said earlier in this podcast. Call me Jeff Murphy. I love Middle Tennessee State to bounce back and play another SEC opponent, Missouri, and shock the world, get back on top. Missouri will lose this weekend to the Blue Raiders. That offense is going to go against a defense that's not Alabama, and they'll be able to get some movement. I really enjoy the quarterbacks, Murph, for MTSU. The kid's a baller. I always feel like I'm going to butcher his last name. So I
Nick Vadiato, good player.
Vadiato. That guy, he was hitting his receivers against Alabama. I just feel it. I'm telling you again, there's something about this MTSU team that's going to do something special this year, and I think it starts this week. I'm taking MTSU money line, and I'm 4-0 right now on my money line picks this season.
Jeff, who are you going with?
I'm going to go with the line they're favored in this game. James Madison at Virginia. They're 7-point favorites, which is really interesting to me, but I think James Madison gets it done. And what I'm looking for them in a game where they're favored on the road at a Power 5 program, and I know Virginia got blasted against Tennessee, but can they answer the call? I mean, Vegas thinks you're going to win by 7. Go into Virginia and get it done. Jordan McLeod, he had the best game out of the quarterbacks that played last week for James Madison. I think he's going to be the guy. I think they announced that he's going to start this game. So excited to watch him play and ball out, but go out there and get the Power 5 win for the Group of 5.
Yeah, I like it. And I think the two Group of 5 teams that are favored, UTEP's also favored against Northwestern. Northwestern is in shambles after their off season, so I like that one. And then, man, I'm going to stick with my heart here, and I'm going to take Boise State over UCF. 3.5-point dogs at the moment. That game's in Boise. I look for some altitude to affect UCF a little bit in that game. I look for I look for the crowd at Boise to get really involved. I know they've been looking forward to that game since 2 years ago when they went down to Orlando in the bounce house. So I like both of those games. Let's get into our locks, underdogs, and over-under picks. This is brought to you by Southern Roots in their Pick 6 segment on Southern Roots Radio. Download the Southern Roots app for free wherever you get your music and your apps. Lock of the week, Liberty, minus 10.5 versus New Mexico State. Easy, right? Tip, you're on this. You're always all over these.
Should be. I feel like, we watched both of these teams play. We saw New Mexico State struggle on offense. So I expect to see the same, and Liberty's defense look good. Offense also look good. Liberty's at home in that game, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So, Liberty looked good last week. So I think they definitely can cover that 10.5.
And a little payback from last year.
That's right. I'm going to try to run through this quickly. I am soaking wet in sweat. We also have, can I tell you how much, like, these little beach towns, there's this big ass house across the street, and they are having a rager with like 4 or 5 other families of 65, 70-year-old people, and they're all just walking to their big ass houses next door after they get done partying.
Those are called swinger parties.
I don't think that's what's going on here. I think there's an age to that, but maybe you might be right.
Tuesday not. Usually that's when it happens.
And they do have the pineapple on the door. Is that?
There you go. I'm telling you.
Anyway, underdog of the week. We saw him live this past Saturday. Tulane at home hosting Ole Miss. I will say this, what I'm a little nervous about is I think there's going to be a lot of Ole Miss fans in that stadium because we saw a lot of Ole Miss flags around New Orleans when we were there. But I'm hoping that the Tulane faithful can drown that out. And I'm just hoping Michael Pratt can show up like he did. But they are plus 250 money line, and I think they're 7-point underdogs at home. Everybody loves a good home dog, Jeff.
I love a good home dog, and I think this is the game that if he's not already on the map, he should be, that Michael Pratt shows the world he's a Heisman candidate, and they beat Ole Miss at home.
And this next one on our over-under, I think this is maybe the most for sure thing, which means probably don't take it. Ohio at FAU under 61.5. It looks like Rourke is going to be out again, and Ohio's offense is just not very good without Curtis Rourke. So unless FAU scoring 60 points, what's up, Jess?
Well, I thought you were going to keep going. That was a question. It's like after you get done talking, but now since you've already brought me into it.
Well, you raised your hand, so I went.
I wanted to make sure that we're also going to add one more lock of the week because there is one more out there that I think we all agreed on that should be up for discussion. Troy plus 16.
Yeah.
I know we talked about that as an underdog, but I mean that right there at plus 16 points is this pretty lockable to me.
Yeah,
that's from Zachary Brenner.
Yeah, that's a pretty good lock. I mean, Tip's got them to win straight up as a group of 5 over Power 5, so surely they're going to cover 16.5 points.
Tipton also said Hawaii's going to beat Stanford. So.
He did. He did.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry. That was shade.
He did. And then
where's all the receipts on Swaggy's games? Because I know.
I know it. Let's go to the next chapter. Next chapter.
It's week 2, and he's had a week and a half of good bets, and now all of a sudden,
arrogant. I'm putting all my chips on MTSU, and I usually don't do that. So let's see if my boys in the Blue Raiders can bail me out here on this. Give me 5-0.
And then last thing, when we talk about player props, of course, brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app, use our code GOFG. They'll match you on your first time deposit up to $100. Number 1 receiver, If their reception total is 5.5 or lower, take the over. It's happened all weekend, the past 2 weekends. It keeps happening. So if they keep putting it at 5.5 or lower, take the over on these guys on the player prop. Jeff Murphy, how many voicemails do we have? Or I guess how many minutes does Creme Brulee leave on his voicemail?
We got
Like a fax.
we got about 7 or so here. So let's.
We're not doing voicemails anymore. We're doing faxes.
We're doing fax machine. By the
Let me check my pager, and then we'll call you back.
Yeah. Well, let's just get right into it. Let's just get right into it. And our boy Stu's Right from Twitter leads us off.
Hey, boys. Stu's Right from Twitter here. Just leaving Boontown, getting ready to make a 5.5-hour drive to Emerald Isle with Tripp and Sydney. Got a little worried there for a little bit. The offense didn't seem like it was humming with Ryan Berger, and brought in Joey Aguilar and threw a 32-yard touchdown pass on his first play as a Mountaineer. Hey, boys. Stu's Right from Twitter here. Just leaving Boontown, getting ready to make a 5.5-hour drive to Emerald Isle with Tripp and Sydney. Got a little worried there for a little bit. The offense didn't seem like it was humming with Ryan Berger, and brought in Joey Aguilar and threw a 32-yard touchdown pass on his first play as a Mountaineer. I believe we scored on all but one possession after Joey Aguilar came in. It just seemed like the timing was right. The Bulls up front got a little bit of push. I think we threw a touchdown to 5 different receivers, so it looks like the depth is finally showing. Nate Noel ran for, I think, 117 yards, so another 100-yard game for him. Defense looked a little iffy at times, but 3 turnovers, 2 picks, and a forced fumble. And I believe we righted the ship. We're going to have a work cut out for us next week if we don't shore up some of those issues on defense. But all in all, we're 1-0. We're off to a good start, and we'll see you next week. Can't wait. Shut up, Creme Brulee and Steeple. See ya.
Appreciate it, Stu.
I love his endings every time. Shut up, Creme Brulee.
Yeah, I mean, App's defense needs to probably figure it out real quick. But, yeah, it looked like they found some momentum at quarterback there when Berger got hurt. So, we'll see.
Yeah, appreciate it, Stu. Keep them coming. We'll go right to our next one because we got a lot to get to. Our boy Terry Johnson.
Creme Brulee. I know you're having the time of your life. And you know what? You should. And I have to apologize because your Texas State Bobcats proved me wrong. I got nothing bad to say, man. Y'all did it. You beat Baylor. You represented the Sun Belt. And if there's one thing that G.J. Kinney and Coach Prime proved is that you can flip a roster with multiple transfers and make them into a great team. I mean, you did it. Shout out to G.J. Kinney for making Texas State what it needs to be. Now, Texas State fans, Creme Brulee, do not be obnoxious like Steeple PC and the rest of these COVID Carolina fans. Please don't. Be humble, all right? It's the first time you've tasted success in about a decade, so let's calm down now, all right? We all respect you. We like you. We're going for you. Please don't make us hate you, all right? I'm worried about when Texas State comes to Lafayette to play UL. I think that's going to be a fun game. Who knows what's going to happen? But Texas State looks great, man. Steeple, I was going for you. Believe it or not, I was going for the chickens, in the Rose Bowl. And I think honestly, Grace McCall could have pulled out the win. Just some mistakes in the red zone, but I was going for y'all. I was going for everybody in the belt the other day. UL, the Cajuns look good. They announced for our crowd, they said 18,000. There's no way. We had over 20,000 there. I'd say we had about 22, 23,000. Student section was packed. I think all the ranting I've been doing on Twitter and everything and a lot of other UL fans have really made the administration look inward and try to get the students out there. So shout out to them. It's going to be a better home crowd from this day to come. But yeah, happy to see the Texas State won, the Cajuns won. Of course, it was, I guess, the FCS school. Got ODU coming up for for a game for a conference game earlier in the year. And, I think it's going to be a good one. Hopefully Troy takes care of business against Kansas State. Shout out to you, Zach. I hope your boys can take care of it. And you know what? This is the happiest football season, y'all. We'll see what happens. Shout out to the Group of Five. God bless Group of Five. God bless Group of Five guys. Go Cajuns.
Appreciate it, Terry.
Apologies, by the way, that we have 4 children under 4 years of age right on the other side of this wall right here. So if you're hearing some screaming, probably our wives are fighting for their lives in there. But we had a podcast we had to do, and I told them we would make it short tonight, and we have not made it short tonight. Thanks for the call, Terry. What else we got, Jeff?
Yeah, let's get to the next one. Zachary Branner and the bleep button is back.
Boys and girls, week 1 is over. My Troy Trojans got the dub. This is Zachary Branner. You already know. Just a few shout-outs from my boys. Quarter 1 couldn't have been any more perfect than it was. Gunslinging Watson out there dropping dimes, looked really proficient, very efficient, and was just dominating the passing game. O-line, much improved from year to date, to be honest. Looked really good. Kimani Vidal, 248, breaking the school rushing record for single rushing yards in a game. Dub, expecting nothing less. We're going to have to take care of business on to Kansas State. Hey, we're, big dogs, Big 12. It's little Deuce Vaughn's out of there now. He's with my Cowboys here in Dallas. So I'm excited to see how we do. But this particular phone call is not going to be primarily about my Troy Trojans. We got the dub 1-0. That was expected. Cream Brulee, my boy. How about them Bobcats? I let Jeff know early, about a couple months ago, about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, that Texas State was going to be my dark horse. And looky there. Upset week 1 against Baylor. How about that? Texas State. Now, that was one game. It's week 1. You're going to have some exciting things. Group of 5 really showed out again week 1. Are we shocked? Absolutely not. That's why we're here. Group of 5, we stand with them. But Texas State, it's about damn time. Join the squad or Power 5 win. Shout out again, Cream Brulee. Is he alive? I tweeted him. I said, how are we feeling? He didn't respond. So I guarantee you he called y'all and he's livid with excitement. Probably a couple flights in him, maybe a couple Red Bull vodkas or whatever, he wants to drink. He deserves it. That fan base has been through hell and back, or just hell because they ain't really came back, but that was a step to get out of hell. Shout out to them. That fan base has been through it. So really proud of Texas State. Really helped us out there. Sam Pickney, my goodness, dude. I'm gonna go ahead and shout him out. It's still Coastal all day long. Hopefully you get to bleep that out, but it's still Coastal. But I'll shout him out. Pickney is a dog. But Texas State, thank you, thank you. But here, we're week 2. We got Kansas State. I'm excited. I'm really excited though. I really try to go week to week. Not try to think ahead, but hey, Cream Brulee. I'm gonna be in San Marcos. Troy plays Texas State, so hopefully, it'll be exciting. That beautiful stadium will be packed. But hey, welcome to the beginning of the Power 5. It's a wonderful place to be. Now, back on Coastal. Am I shocked? Absolutely not. I couldn't enjoy even more a Coastal loss. I love it. Sam Pickney's a dog, but everything else, Coastal all day long. South. That's awesome. I'm so glad South caught that L. But hey, it's a great weekend for Group of 5. I'm excited for the season to be here. But yes, all day long, one Troy and Coastal and South.
Appreciate it, Zach. I don't even know where to go with this. His voice knows half the time.
He loves the Sun Belt, but he hates everybody in it. I mean, that's all you can ask for, though.
Appreciate the
just
call.
Glad everybody's giving Creme Brulee his props.
He deserves it.
I mean, yeah, he deserves it. Seriously.
All
Man,
right,
I think
let's
there's a video on social media of him just running outside the doorway.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
We'll get
What
to
else we
his. All right, let's get to the next one, our boy Zach Green.
Hey guys, Zach Green here. Had a great weekend this weekend up in Lynchburg, Virginia at the Liberty game, the start of the Chadwell era. The Flames got a pretty nice 34-24 win over Bowling Green, and honestly, my number one takeaway is not even about Liberty; it's about Bowling Green. Those quarterbacks were absolutely awful. Bazelak came in the first half, threw 3 picks, looked like he was throwing lobs up for alley-oops for the Liberty DBs. And then they put in Orth in the second half. I believe that's his name, Orth. He comes in, they move the ball up and down the field some, but he also throws 2 picks, I believe. So an absolute disaster of a quarterback situation from Bowling Green. So credit to Liberty's defense, but also it looked pretty easy out there for them many times, just how bad those balls were. But on the other side, Liberty's quarterback, Caden Salter, had a good game. He got the job done with his legs. He made some nice passes. But more importantly, he didn't make any really stupid mistakes from what I can tell. He seemed to mostly make the right decisions on the option plays, and he didn't turn the ball over, which was a big problem for him last year. So happy to see how he played in this first game and looking forward to seeing him excel. And I'm just looking for the downfield passing to increase and become more successful. But pleased with the game, not the most beautiful win, some things that really need to be cleaned up and improved, but a win is a win, especially in the first game of the season with a new coach. So happy about that. A couple other things I want to talk about. Jacksonville State, of course, they just played an FCS team, East Tennessee State, but they got the job done, winning 49-7, I believe. That's something you want to see out of new FBS teams to really show that they're not the FCS school that they used to be. So good win for them there to just show that they're really an FBS team. And then Sam Houston, last thing I need to say. Obviously they've got a lot of work to do on offense, but the defense seems to be as advertised. I didn't watch much of the game, so maybe I'm missing some critical context here. But to hold a Power 5 team, a quality program, to only 14 points in your FBS debut is a big deal. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that defense continue to succeed and hopefully be backed up by some good offense. So thank you guys for all that you do. Looking forward to Liberty New Mexico State this weekend and also non-Liberty game, Jacksonville State at Coastal Carolina. It should be fun. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Zach, as always. I'm with him on Sam Houston. That's a big defensive performance.
It was my dark horse, just so we're clear. But
you did say that.
But hey, both Sam Houston and Jacksonville State's 2-0.
I know.
So
big game in Conway.
Now. Huge game.
All right, hop on to the next one, Baker Loy.
What's up, boys? It's Baker Loy back for week 2. So, second in was at Kid Brewer on Saturday, and my God, Ryan Berger. You know, not a bad start, but not the start you're looking for. Dude breaks his finger or whatever the heck's going on in the first half. Second quarter, kind of late. Joey Aguilar comes in. My God, who is this guy? This dude got all kinds of confidence. He's slinging the rock, throwing for 4 tutties in, final 2 minutes for the first half, and then the whole second half. My God, 4 touchdowns that quick. Dude's got all kinds of confidence coming in there. So, I mean, he must have been letting her rip to try to earn that spot. It's going to be interesting to see what he does this Saturday in Tar Heel country, or Tar Hole country, as we like to call him here in North Carolina. So, Jeff, I believe you're going to be a big fan of this guy. He's an Oakland boy, give or take, from around that area. So, you should take a look into him. With that said, definitely some stuff to clean up from this past week. We looked a little rusty still on the O-line. D-line wasn't getting pressure. I think the O-line was doing all right against the D-lines themselves, but the linebackers seemed to be kind of getting past them from what I could tell. But, hey, receivers looking good. Secondary a lot better than I expected. Gardner-Webb, not the worst FCS team. I'll tell you that straight up from what I saw out there. But I'm excited to see what we got really this next 2 weeks with UNC and ECU. Hey, go Apps. Also, Steeple, what the hell are you guys doing going out to UCLA and laying an egg like that? You're starting to just show me you were nothing but Grayson McCall. That's all we predicted you'd be once you lost, your Chadwell guy. Now, what's Grayson McCall doing? He can't win just by himself, and when he's gone, where are you going to be? Probably nothing. Peace out. Go Apps.
First of all, Gardner Webb, shout out Trey Lamb. We actually had him on the show probably been over a year now. But I'm sure they got up for that one too now. So
yeah, that'd be a big rivalry there for them. But yeah, Joey Aguilar, DVC product. They like to spin it up there in Northern California. So
is that a NorCal? Is that Antioch? I saw that's where he's from.
I think he's from Antioch, but DVC's up north of San Francisco on the other side of the Golden Gate. Around Alcatraz.
Right around Alcatraz?
Exactly. Well, we got 3 left. We'll get to them, saving Mr. Creme Brulee for last. But let's get our guy Caesar from UTEP.
Jeff, can I just say, after you play let's just finish the show. So before you play Creme Brulee,
Yeah.
I will outro us and just play it, and we'll hang up.
Perfect. Sounds great. Caesar, UTEP.
Hey, Group of 5 guys. This is Coach Caesar. This is everybody's favorite assistant cheer coach and mascot director out of the University of Texas at El Paso. Well, I can't brag too much about a win over UIW, but hey, it's a step in the right direction after the loss the first week against Jacksonville State. So, hey, I'm happy. I was at the game. We had a full student section and fans showed up. Now, the deal is, as I was grilling this weekend, I kept my eye on the score of Rutgers and Northwestern and saw that didn't go too well for Northwestern. I'm going to be out of town these next 2 weekends. The first trip will be one to the Illinois, Chicago area to go see the Northwestern versus UTEP game. I'll be there on the field. And as I looked at it, I realized, okay, UTEP, aside from a couple of wins over Utah when they were in the WAC, a couple of upsets over BYU, and the 1967 Sun Bowl win over Ole Miss, I really was kind of hard-pressed to find any UTEP wins over P5 schools. So I'll tell you what, David Braun is an interim coach. The team is in a flux. They're not getting the best press right now. So, hey, I figured if there's ever a time that UTEP's going to have a win right here, it is this weekend. So I'm looking forward to UTEP having a good showing up in Evanston. I'm going to be there, like I said. I'm really looking forward to the game. Can't make any guarantees, but, hey, if the stars align, this is the time. Now, of course, there's some NMSU fans on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days. And, of course, they're talking trash about how they're going to laugh when UTEP loses. Meanwhile, I think they should worry about Liberty letting freedom ring all over their lousy program. But, hey, okay, enough talk trash about NMSU. That game's not for a few more months. Anyway, just glad to have the season back and good to hear from you all. I'll be listening this week, and I got to order some swag. I got to represent at some of these games and wear it at the games and have Tater Pete wear it while we're at it. But that's a project for the future. So, good listening, and glad to hear you guys. Like I said, we'll see you later.
Appreciate it, Caesar.
We can get old Pay Dirt Pete with a Group of 5 guys T-shirt on. That'd be
sick.
Be pretty tight, huh?
Yeah,
I think they're going to beat Northwestern. They're one of the 2 Group of 5s that are favored this weekend over Power 5. So I like that pick.
Yep, I agree. All right, we'll get to our last 2 callers. Steeple _PC_51.
That's Group of 5 guys. How you doing? This is Steeple _PC_51. Guys, first of all, want to get started by saying, man, y'all did a great show on that live stream. Come from South Alabama and Tulane game. Simply very, very good job. Like Ethan Crow on that one, I thought South Alabama played very well. Tulane ended up overcoming they just look very good. Passed the eye test. Can't say much about that. Next, I want to get into the Coastal UCLA game. We had our opportunities. A lot of I could play Monday morning quarterback, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to question a lot of things. Just a lot of things that you did notice. Specialty teams, we need to get better. Got to have all phases of the game. And I think we dropped the ball on a lot of those things. Feeling the punt so late, so in the back in our red zone that wasn't that needs to be coached up. If we're going back, you shouldn't feel no ball past the 10. The missed field goals could have kept the game pretty close. Put more pressure on UCLA. We had a couple defensive breakdowns, but it looked a whole lot better than last year. A lot of guys was in position. I think the cornerbacks are going to be fine. Definitely number 22. And I don't like name dropping, so I use numbers. I think number 22 is going to do quite well for us. Defensive line, they were getting pushed. We didn't get a lot of penetration. I think 44 and number 52 are going to be just fine. And 0 and 7 on the back end. I was more concerned about the defense. I think they look pretty good and kept things in perspective. So, I don't believe in moral victories, but passing the eye test, I think Coach is going to be quite fine, and we're going to give him a lot. We're going to make a good run to taking the championship hands down. So now I'd like to give some props to a couple teams, before I get off here. Hey guys, I'm not going to complain. Liberty, App State, Georgia State, JMU, Troy, Marshall, Georgia Southern. We go at it all the time. Louisiana. Guys, we go at it. But y'all got those victories in the first week. Can't complain. 1-0 looks better than 0-1. So there, I know you said 8 wins maybe. I said probably 10 or more against the Power 5. It's going to be more than that. A lot of these teams look very good. And got to give a shout out to Fresno State, Northern Illinois. Hey guys, if y'all can elaborate a little bit more on the Southern Utah University, Southern Utah State, somebody, the one that played Arizona State, haven't heard much about them. But they obviously played very well in a loss. But, can you give me some details on them guys? We'll try to look something up, but you guys are on point. And, you're much better than I am on that. And last but not least, I'm going to finish this off with 2 points. One, Jacksonville State comes to Conway, which we're looking forward. They're 2-0. Very impressive for coming in Conference USA. Yes, their second game wasn't, but they did what they had to do to win. So I'm not going to complain about that. Texas State, Jeff, you are on point. Texas State is for real, y'all. They passed the eye test. They're gelling quickly, much quicker than I know anybody anticipated. South Alabama and Troy, you guys in the West, better look out for Texas State. Those cats are for real. Hey, I call it like I said. I still think App sucks. I still think Georgia Southern sucks. I still think Louisiana sucks. And got to give props to ULM. Big victory for them. They probably got their one game of the year. So I'm not going to complain too much. Anyway, see you guys in Conway. And y'all are going to be there. So I will find you guys. Anyway, if you want to, I will send you my phone number through the DM. Talk to you guys later.
Appreciate it, Steeple.
Sean's up.
He's done.
Well, Steeple, we're here, pal.
Send us that number.
Send us the number, dude. We'll hang out. Me and Tip have already been planting seeds to our wives about all the work we have to do while we're here. appreciate the comment on the show on Saturday, man, because we came in hot. I mean, I left my house in Georgia at 3:57 a.m. Eastern time. Got to the New Orleans airport, picked them up. We went straight to the bar, set up the camera, set up the microphones, and started filming. And so we tried. Southern Utah Thunderbirds.
Big
They hadn't
Sky
been
Conference.
they hadn't been very good as of late. It's a relatively young program, I think. But I was trying to look up some stuff during the thing. It looks like the last time they made the playoffs was 2017 in the FCS. So who knows?
Is that just a random question? Because I got really confused when he said that.
Well, they almost beat Arizona State.
I saw it was a close game. Okay.
24-21.
Gotcha. Saw he played Sam Houston last year.
Yeah.
And we'll give some more details about the Jacksonville State coming to Coastal Carolina on our live show on Saturday. But main matchup I'm looking at is can Coastal Carolina's defense stop and slow down Jacksonville State's rush attack on offense?
Yeah, I want to see them live too. I mean, I've seen Coastal a couple times live, but you really see the size and the speed a little bit different. And I want to see. I mean, Jacksonville State's 2-0, but they are a quote unquote FCS team moving up. So I do want to see them live and see how they match up against one of the better teams in the Sun Belt. Jeff, before
Hit
you
the
get
outro.
if you like the show, we appreciate everybody watching and listening. We need you to follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, or wherever you get your best podcast. Subscribe to the Group of Five Guys channel. Give us a 5-star rating and review. Leave a comment. Share it with your family and friends, and go to group-of-5guys.com and get you some Group of Five Guys merch. Creme brulee, the floor is yours, my friend. You deserve it. Congratulations. Texas State is back.
Hey guys, it's creme brulee. Murph, you might want to.
He better turn it
the
up.
audio for the next 2 or 3 seconds. All right, just a fair warning. But let's go Bobcats! We got that dub, boys. Okay, guys. Now that that's out of my system, we did it. We did it. The only thing we left in Waco were Chip and Joanne Gaines. Sorry, y'all, but we got out of Waco as fast as possible. Headed back down to San Marcos, but we got that dub. We got that dub. Let's go over some really nice stats. And for all those who actually watched the game, it was honestly, we dominated. We dominated on defense. We dominated on offense, special teams. But our D-line, 10 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Our O-line, and grant you, this O-line is completely new. Not a single offensive lineman from last year was in the starting lineup against Baylor. But we got probably 3 yards of push every snap, and we only allowed 1 sack. So the boys in the trenches did their job. And then let's just highlight TJ Finley. All right, 22 of 30, 73% completion rate, 298 yards, 96.2 QBR. I mean, the guy balled out. I mean, us Texas State fans, it's been, Malik or TJ all summer. And honestly, you know what the best thing about it is Malik was the first person, Malik Hornsby was the first person dabbing up TJ after, a scoring touchdown or whatever. I mean, I think truly these guys support each other, and Malik honestly deserves the starting job just as much as TJ. So just an incredible QB room right now at Texas State. But guys, what a game. I think San Marcos was burning down Saturday night. It was amazing. We've been waiting for this for a really, really long time. And, now our sights turn on UTSA, University of Texas's San Antonio satellite campus. But we got to pay our respect to them. Right? We're 0-4 against UTSA. Let's just put it out there, right? They're a really good team. Frank Harris is going to play better than he did against the Houston Cougars. He's just going to play better. So we got to come prepared. But man, I'm jacked up. We've already sold out our Texas State allotment of tickets. So we're going to turn that rented stadium, that rented dome, into a Bobcat Stadium. So excited about that. But looking forward to this upcoming Saturday's game. And just some last items, Murph and Tipton, you're our boys. You believe in us, especially Murph. You knew, right? You knew what was going to happen at Texas State. You've been watching, what GJ's been cooking down here in San Marcos. But, Sprouse, I'm a little disappointed. In the last voicemail, you seem to have some doubt in your voice. So, and the same with Swag Bear. Swag Bear, man. This train's leaving, right? This train's leaving the station. We would love to have you on board. But you need to get on this bandwagon, buddy. I don't know what else to tell you. But super jacked up about this UTSA game. It's going to be a great game. I'm excited about how the Bobcats are going to represent in the Dome. And, yeah, God bless, guys. Eat 'em up. Let's go.
Appreciate it, Creme Brulee. We're out.